What's up? This is Adam Watts, and this is a podcast about all things, everything, unfiltered, just thoughts and things, and that are whatever's in my head. Anything unfiltered is usually bad. Usually good stuff is filtered. Filtered water is good. You use filtering to make just things better. So this is unfiltered, so don't expect much. I'll just be talking about things I love, things I don't love, things I do, just creativity, life, art, whatever, just blah. Hope you like it. Ding dong ding. Hey, real quick, disclaimer / apology. The audio on the beginning of this podcast is quite crappy. So I was actually driving in my car and it was recording through the Bluetooth little speaker in my car and it sounded horrible for a little bit. So just suffer through it, and it'll get better as the podcast goes on. So my sincerest apologies. It'll never happen again. Promise. Enjoy.
Hey, welcome. This is my new podcast. I'm Adam Watts. Your lonesome solo. What am I? I'm your MC? No, I'm your butler? No, I'm your host. Host, that's the word. I'm driving to the mall right now to get a knife sharpener because I made some knives this weekend. I got into it. I don't know. This whole podcast will be about just all the various places that my mind goes, and my creativity goes, and my heart goes, and my body goes, and all the places that everything goes during my life. And hopefully I don't bore you to death. Hopefully my life doesn't bore you to death. So I'm going to the Brea Mall right now to get a knife sharpener because there's only so much time you can spend doing stuff, and sharpening knives that you've made out of old antique chisels and antique files. Sharpening them the old-fashioned way on just a sharpening stone is there's kind of an art to it. It's sort of difficult, and making something sharp, really sharp, perfectly sharp, is hard, and steel is hard, metal is hard. You know what's weird about something sharp is that when something's sharp, it's just really skinny. You ever think about that? It's like you're just making it so skinny that it can just shimmy its way in between things, like whether it's a piece of meat or a piece of wood or a piece of string or something, whatever it is, you're just on a molecular level, you're just shimmying in between the molecules and cutting it. So it's just skinny. Isn't that weird? I think it's weird. It's kind of like when you're a person and you're, which I guess we're all people. If you were to, let's say you want to cut water and you're a person. If you're a super fat person, or let's say husky, and you jump into the water, even if you're a really good diver, you're going to make a big splash because you're cutting into water and it's difficult because you're so husky. But if you're really skinny, it's easy to cut into water without making a big splash. So if you consider that on a very micro level with a piece of metal, the skinnier you are, the easier it is for you to cut a piece of wood or a piece of string. So there it is. The philosophy of cutting. Not a philosophy. Doesn't seem like a philosophy. That's just random thoughts on things that are skinny, such as knives, which I've been making this week. So I heard somewhere that old steel from like the 20s, basically the early 20th century, like 1920s, 1930s, 1900s, the steel back then and the way that he treated it and all that stuff was not crappy. Basically, the more modern things are, unless it's maybe a Tesla or, I don't know, modern things, they tend to cut corners in manufacturing, and often things are stupid and of low quality. But back then, they just assumed, like, if we're going to make something, we're going to make it right the first time, and we're going to make it to last. And so the steel back then was really high quality, which is why it's still around today in antique stores and whatever. And then somewhere along the line, people realized that, well, if we're going to make something, we should, I think it's called built-in obsolescence. So they try to make things obsolete, like secretly obsolete after a certain period of time, so that you'll buy more of it. So I heard rumors that, or there are rumors going around the world about, like, Apple products, built-in obsolescence. So like an iPod would just sort of start to break after a couple years so that you'd buy another one. Because if they made iPods well, first of all, digital technology, so it's always getting better and better. But if you think about it, if you make something to last, like an iPod, then you just buy one and you're good. But they want you to just keep buying them, and then they build all this mystery around what, it's so amazing and whatever, and you want it so bad and you get it, and then the new one comes out, and for some people it's like, I don't need the new one, I got the old one. But what if it just sort of breaks or stops working? And built-in obsolescence, they could easily program into it that after a certain period of time it starts to glitch and stuff, and you don't really think it's like, you don't lose faith in the brand, but you just sort of think like, I have the old one, it doesn't work as well, it's glitchy, whatever, and then so you want to go buy the new one. So they're riding that gray area. Maybe. This is a conspiracy theory. I'm not too big on those. But the main point is, I went to an antique shop in Temecula, and there's a dealer there that has lots of old tools, and old tools are awesome. So I bought some old files and wanted to make some knives out of them down at my cabin in Julian. So I have old grinder, I have a new grinder, have some different things, so I decided I'm going to make some knives. So I made a machete, and I made like a shop knife. The shop knife is like a short knife. I made that out of a chisel and got some, I've been really into wood lately. I like wood. And I found out about this wood called desert ironwood, and it's like almost as hard as ebony, or around that hard, which is extremely hard. There's like a rating system for the hardness of wood. It's called the Jinka rating system, and it's some kind of hardness test that they do. I don't know what it is. It's like pounds per square inch of pressure or something that they do on the wood, and that's the density of it. So like a wood like pine has, like, I don't know, in the low hundreds Jinka hardness, like maybe a couple hundred, 300, 400, something like that. I have to check, but basically that's fairly soft. So you could almost like push your fingernail into that wood and it would make a little divot. And ebony is near the top of the scale, somewhere around 3,000 hardness. And desert ironwood is up there somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but a wood like walnut or oak will be around like 900 or 1,000. That's considered like a hardwood that you could make furniture out of. But when you get up into like 3 times that hardness, it's almost like, seems like it's as hard as metal almost. So it's incredible. You can use it for things like knife handles, which is what I did. Maybe I'll show you a picture of that right now, or not, if it's just an audio podcast. I don't know. So what was I getting at? Oh, anyway, so like I made a machete out of a file, and then I made a knife, and I'm back in Brea now, as I said earlier, and I sharpened them pretty good, but then I was like, I want to make these perfectly sharp, and so I looked online at like a modern sharpener, and I'm going to get it. What is it called? It's like a Wusthof. It's like a German company. And there's 3 little things you slide the knife through. The first one is more to get the big bevel on it, and then it gets down to like a razor sharp edge. So, impulse buy. I'm driving down, I'm getting one. Side note, the steel was so hard on the machete that it grinded my grinder down. So like, as it's sharpening the metal, part of my grinder is coming off. So there was like metal shards and, you know, like dust coming off my grinder wheel. So I need a new grinder wheel also because the steel is so hard. And I was breathing all that in all week. So this is gross. So earmuffs. But at the end of the day, you blow your nose and it's like, wow, it's gross. And then I was wondering how much of that went into my lungs. So if I die before you hear this, it's because I breathed in not only an old chisel, but also a grinder wheel, and that was the cause of death. So what is this new podcast? This new podcast is just an unfiltered version of just me thinking out loud. And maybe that's not interesting, but maybe you're like me and you just like to hear people think. I've been trying to sort of broaden my horizons, or actually I haven't been trying to do it. Maybe it's just a survival mechanism. I've just been on this search to sort of break down the walls between all the different the ideas I have about who I am as an artist and a person and what it all means. And over the past few years, I'm sure I'll touch on this a lot throughout these podcasts, but I've spent my life really focusing on music to the point where you get so deep into it that you don't even know what it is you're doing. You know, like I did that with drumming and songwriting and producing and mixing and engineering and singing and all this stuff. And over the last few years, during the course of writing my book and stuff, my book's called The Human of Being Art. I'm getting in touch with what it means to just express myself through myself, like creating stuff. And it doesn't matter what it is. And just exploring what that means, whether it's music and songwriting, which of course you could spend a lifetime just doing that and never reach your full potential. But also, you know, visual arts and photography and fine arts like assemblage and carpentry and now like knife making and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just on this journey exploring what it means to just try to create something that means something to me. I'm going to do these all in short little clips. So whenever I have a thought, I'm just going to add to this little voice note here, and that's going to be the podcast, unfiltered and very all over the place.
Okay, I'm in the mall. You can hear it's really loud in here. I'm in the food court, but two weird things just happened. One, there's a little eatery called Genghis Khan, and there are lots of people there, and they chop up meat on this big piece of hot metal. What would you call that? An oven? I don't know. And the place is called Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was like a wildly murderous destroyer of people. It's very weird. Like, I didn't see a place in the food court called like Hitler where they, I don't know, gas chickens and you eat them. That's just very weird. Genghis Khan must not be famous enough for people to think about that, but people don't seem to mind. And then the other thing is when I was walking in, there was a blind person, a blind gentleman, I guess you would call him, waiting at the curb for somebody to pick him up, and he seemed so free, like he was just waving his arms around and smiling, and it seems like that's one of the positive aspects of being blind, is that you I don't know, maybe you just kind of forget what you look like, and you're a little bit less. Is this blindism? It's a positive. I'm saying something good about maybe what if you're just not worried about what you look like or about sight, that you just kind of are a little bit unfiltered and just do and let your body move how it wants to. I'd like to try that someday. I felt a little jealous. He seemed very at ease with himself, but I don't know the guy. Maybe it has nothing to do with him being blind and I'm just an idiot. Escalators are weird. You know, what's really weird though is just being in a mall after spending a week by yourself in the woods is very the opposite. So strange. I feel maybe a little bit like Tom Hanks did at the end of Castaway when he comes back. It's just weird looking around. Like this is supposedly like normal life, but it feels very strange and plastic and so odd that we can just come to a place like this and get almost anything we want, and mostly things we don't need, and it's all just right here, and you didn't have to make it at all. It's so strange. There's the Sweet Factory, lots of candy. Charlotte Russe, Banana Republic, Tivana. What is this life? Hey, there's Tesla. I do kind of want one of those just to have it. Why else would you want it? Am I pausing too much? Am I leaving too much space in between things? I feel like maybe walking around the mall while you're doing a podcast is a bad idea. There's a strange sort of hierarchy in malls. You know, there's like the real stores, and then there's those little kiosks of just, you know, like the sort of the ghetto of the retail world, where it's like the stuff is much crappier and weirder, and it seems like they shouldn't really be there, maybe. Almost like they're selling counterfeit products and fake hair that clips into your real hair, and they look at you like, get over here and I'll sell you something. Like it's just like a weird, it reminds me of being in Tijuana as a kid and being sold chiclets at the border. Although that was kind of nice. Plus they clean your windshield and stuff without you even asking them to. I don't really know how I feel about all this. Yeah, I do. I feel pretty good about it in a bad way. I don't know. So far, no one's looked at me while I'm talking into my phone by myself. So self-centered everybody is. Okay, there's the Disney store. You know what's weird is walking into the Disney store and like hearing a song that I was part of writing, and it's so strange to think that like it was written down the street and then it went all over the place in the corporate structure of Disney, and then it ends up at the mall down the street from my house. It's a very odd feeling. All right, Williams-Sonoma, where are you? All right, made my purchase. That was super weird. I paid with cash, and which I don't do that often, but so I pull out. The thing's like $150, so I pull out, or 100, ended up being like 161, whatever, and I had a bunch of 20s. So I pull it out and I count it, and I realized I miscounted it, so I had to count it twice. I was trying to count out, you know, just, what was it? 8 $20 bills. So I miscount it, and then I hand it to the guy, and I'm just small talking with him about how weird cash is and how it's kind of rare to use it. And so he starts counting it, and I'm talking to him, and he miscounts, and he can't count either. Neither one of us can count. And it's like, what's gonna happen? It's gonna, what, five years from now, we're gonna have, none of us are gonna be able to count, because all we do is hand plastic cards to people, and they just press buttons and stick things in slots, and then somebody ruins, like, some terrorist gets rid of the internet, or there's an astral sun flare, and then the internet's gone, and all our electronic devices are fried, and we're all cavemen, and none of us can count. That's what it's going to be. So I'm going to practice counting. No, I'm not. All right, so I kind of forgot to remember where I parked. Oh yeah, food court. All right, here we go. I think malls are sort of meant, they're built probably like casinos are, where, well, partially. They want you to get lost so that you'll like go by the Foot Locker store on accident and realize you need shoes when you really don't, or makeup when you really don't, or whatever. Anyway, so I found the food court, so I'm good. But yeah, have you heard that about casinos? They make it so you can't, there's no clocks anywhere, so you can't tell what time it is, so you just like completely lose yourself in losing money, and that's all there is to it. All right, somebody finally looked at me for talking into my phone. I feel like I'm here now. Somebody noticed me. But yeah, so there's no clocks, and I don't think there's no windows. There's no way to like really tell if it's day or night, and all that kind of stuff. And apparently they pump extra oxygen in so you feel more awake while you're getting free drinks, which is also weird. So you're basically like, you're drunk, over oxygenated, you don't know what time it is, and you're dumping money into machines. That doesn't seem fair. Am I out of breath from walking around the mall? Exiting the mall. Okay, so the blind guy got picked up and he's replaced by an Asian fellow in a pink shirt smoking a cigarette, leaning against a trash can. Ain't that the life? Okay, so now I have my goods, exiting. I'll soon be sharpening my partially homemade knife, cabin made. That was a good experience overall. I'm also feeling a little weird because I think I'm going to title this podcast series Unfiltered and Caffeinated. You probably already know that, but I'm just realizing it because I'm trying to just blah into my phone, but I'm definitely caffeinated right now. I slept in a little bit because I was weirdly tired from the events of yesterday, and this morning I woke up. Well, basically, what I'm trying to say is I've really gotten back into Red Bull. I used to have a problem. You can hear my cars unlocking. I used to have a real problem. I used 4 or 5 Red Bulls a day. I ate really bad, but I looked better. But that was just because I was younger, I think. But anyways, the thing is this morning I woke up and I had a nice big cup of coffee, Storyville coffee, my favorite coffee. Hopefully one day to become a sponsor of this podcast. Then I had some amazing soup. Put my seatbelt on. I had some amazing soup that my wife Natalie made. Everybody's sick in my house. Well, I mean, Rowan's sick, my son, and Natalie's sick. Excuse me. And nothing more unfiltered than a partial burp that I didn't actually let out, but you heard it. Okay, so I'm backing up, trying not to hit this car. Anyways, she made the soup out of bone broth and these little... Yeah, my phone turned off. You missed a bunch of just real deep thoughts. Anyway, back to the bone broth. So she made this soup, and bone broth, I guess they boil bones. I think it was chicken bones, and you get the bone marrow in there, and you lots of nutrients. There's a lot of gelatin. I'd actually just heard Joe Rogan talking about gelatin and bone broth and how he's got lots of bone broth around. Anyway, then I come home and all of a sudden there's bone broth. She made this great recipe in these noodles. There's really nothing like a skinny noodle, like a real, like a knife edge of a noodle It's almost like, how do I describe it? It's like angel hair pasta, kind of, but even skinnier. Like angel hair pasta on crack and steroids, like reverse steroids. Makes it even smaller and skinnier. I just love a small noodle. So anyways, I had coffee, then I had the bone broth soup, the rest of it. I'd eaten it last night, and then I had just the rest of it, and then it was like a nice saltiness to it, and nothing better after a salty something than Red Bull. And so I had a Red Bull. So Storyville coffee, a little bit of bone broth, and then a Red Bull, and then straight to the mall. So I don't know, man. I'm caffeinated. There's like a part of my body that's going like, yeah, and there's a part of my body that's like, no. It's like kind of at war, but in a good way. Like I'm tired from everything I did this week and yesterday, and I had to fix a bed. There was a bed frame issue at the cabin, and there's some people renting the cabin this weekend for a wedding, and the bed's been breaking every time somebody sits on it. So that'd be a horrible first night of your wedding. You lay her gently down on the bed, and it breaks because she, and then she thinks she's fat, and it ruins the whole night. Anyway, I fixed the bed though with military paracord and a pair of vice grips, but you can't see it. But if they looked under the bed, they'd be disgusted and they'd both throw up, or they'd be impressed because it's so the ingenuity of my bed fix was I used a lot of paracord and it's good to go. I kind of jumped and landed on the bed with my butt, trying to pretend I was a bride and a groom together, and the bed held up, so good for me. And then I left. And it's a weird thing I noticed is music. I was noticing music, like I'd been there all this week by myself, and I was noticing that there's 2 days where I was playing music all day long, and it was great. And I realized that like some of the music that I love listening to, like the stuff that's really maybe influenced me the most as a songwriter, or that just really feels like me or something, like kind of darker, introspective, like some of my favorite records, like Jeff Buckley Grace or Chris Cornell's Euphoria Morning, or some of the Soundgarden stuff, or whatever it is. When I play that stuff while I'm like in workshop mode, I like it, but it puts me in a different, I like listening to that music when I'm driving around in my car. It's like the ultimate place to listen to music for me, I think. But the idea of like working on something else, like being engaged in some other process and just having music on, I found myself gravitating more towards like rootsier music, or music that kind of has an overall like feel-good quality to it. So I've been listening to a lot of the Chris Stapleton record, which is, I think it's called Traveler or The Traveler or something. But just such a good record, just very classic, sort of blues meets Americana with some country mixed in. The dude's got a big beard and a huge voice, and it's just great. I mean, some of the songs I don't like as much as others, just like any record, but man, there's a song called Fire Away that's great. Tennessee Whiskey, The Whiskey and You, which everything's about whiskey. Maybe that's what it is. It's like you sort of get like a contact high from listening to it. I've never even drank whiskey, but he likes to write songs about whiskey. But for some reason, I really connect to him with good songs. But I noticed that after working for like 2 days with a lot of music playing, for some reason that third day I was like, weaning off this medication that I'm on, and my mood was kind of just a roller coaster, and I was feeling great, and then I'd feel kind of weird, and then I'd feel great, and I'm out in the woods by myself. But I, for some reason, didn't bring the laptop out to the workshop with me, and I worked all day with no music, and by the end of the day, I was feeling super weird, real lonesome inside. and just kind of like a dark cloud had sort of hovered over the world. It's funny when you're in the woods and you feel good and everything's beautiful and you're like, you're taking deep breaths and everything feels good. But then if you feel weird inside and you're in the woods, all of a sudden it becomes Blair Witch and you're like, everything seems, dangerous and scary, and suddenly you feel like there's gonna be some murderer in the woods that's gonna sneak in and steal your soul. Very strange. The woods are like the great multiplier of how you already feel. There's like less distraction and it feels natural. It's almost like, it's the opposite of the mall. The mall will like kind of make you feel like, everything's okay. Everything's here. Everything's at my fingertips. There's people everywhere. Or it'll make you feel horrible. But the woods might maybe multiply how you already feel, depending on how you feel. I don't know. This is a bad theory. But, one day there's daffodils and birds and everything seems like a Disney movie, and the next day the daffodils seem like they're laughing at me. I don't know. Figuratively speaking. Anyways, I'm back home, and I didn't realize how much I missed my family. I think that was part of it. I think I was actually missing Rowan and Natalie without totally being aware of it, because I was kind of just there working on stuff on this sort of mental roller coaster. And when I got home, they're both sick with colds, and Rowan is all snotty and his voice is funny. He's like, he's got that closed up nasal sound. Super cute. He looks like he grew a foot. But just interacting with them and just realizing like, oh man, I was really missing this when I was out there. And I'm not prone to missing people, which is strange. Or I guess it's strange for me to admit it. I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's a natural introvert thing, not to really feel, I don't know, I feel like I carry people in relationships sort of with me, but I don't mind being alone for long stretches of time, but I really felt like I missed it and needed it, and was highly nourished by wiping his nose and just sort of catching up with Natalie and stuff. What wasn't nourishing, though, was waking up 5 times last night and feeling like, of course, it was my job to get up with Rowan because he's sick and she's been dealing with him all week, and I don't want to be a jerk. And I felt sorry for him, but God, I needed some sleep. But she really, she deserved to be able to pull that card of you wake up with him. And apparently she'd already woken up with him a few times. So by the time I heard him, and she heard him, and she said, can you get up with him? And I was like, okay. And then I went in there, and he's so cute, and he instantly stopped crying and laid back down. Like he just wanted somebody in there with him. It was a very, very, very sweet little guy. He laid back down and was trying to figure out how to keep his fingers, like to suck on his fingers while having a super runny, clogged up nose, head. And I could hear him trying to suck on his fingers, but he couldn't breathe. So it was this just gross mix of spit and snot, like, as he was trying to work out how to suck his fingers and breathe. And so I'm just sitting there in the dark rubbing his back, and he's doing that. And then when he seemed okay, I would walk out and then lay down, and then 10 minutes later I'd hear him crying again. So that was like, I did that little routine 5 times before. I think it was like encroaching on 5 a.m. and the sun was just starting to come up, and that was the last time. And then he stayed asleep until who knows when, because I slept in past them waking up. But that was my night, and it was actually really nice. It's funny when you have like responsibilities, and there's something about it that takes some get up and go, a little discipline or something. Like you kind of, like I didn't want to get up, but then you do it, and he's my son, so like I feel there's this cool depth to what you're doing. I don't know. You're taking care of him. You're slightly annoyed that you're up, but you feel bad for him because he's sick, and then you feel good about yourself for being a good dad, and you go back to sleep. You wake up the next day and you just feel like fulfilled, and that's how it works. And that's better than being by yourself and waking up in the middle of the night to the crackling of your wooden cabin, and it sounds like Bigfoot's on your roof, and you look around and nobody's there, and you feel kind of like lonely inside, and then you go back to sleep. That's worse. So have a kid sometime. It's kind of nice. All right, so this concludes this very first episode of the Unfiltered and Caffeinated podcast. Maybe I'll show you some pictures of what I made this week, and where I was and what I did. A little collage or something. Or maybe I won't. I don't know. Maybe this is just audio. We'll see, I guess. But I will see you next time, or you will hear me next time, and I hope you enjoyed it, and leave some comments and share it with your buddies and your pals and your friends and your enemies, and out.